Welcome to week 5 of the NFL season. This is Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports. I'm John, once again here with Sean. Sean, how are you?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Good. Um, we got the Rams and the Seahawks tonight. Besides tonight's game, any other matchups you're looking forward to over the
Uh,
weekend?
yeah, there's a couple of good, interesting games. I mean, Sunday night's game, the Bills and the Chiefs. I think that's a massive game for the Chiefs. I mean, they lose that game, their chance of being a one seed are almost gone, just because they're not gonna be able to jump everyone in their division and the Bills, the Browns, anyone that could possibly be ahead of them in the AFC. I mean, if the playoffs started right now, they wouldn't even be in it. Um, a couple of games I'm looking forward to is the division games, Giants Cowboys. That's a big one for Giants fans. Win that game and you're alive in the division. Lose it and you're 3 games out. The Niners and Cardinals. How long does the winning streak keep going for the Cardinals, being that they're the last undefeated? That's another good question. And then other than that, it's a bunch of other interesting games just because of the matchups and teams playing against each other that don't really play against one another very often.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the Cleveland Chargers game. I think that could be a good matchup. Maybe a playoff preview there. Like you said, Buffalo and Kansas City. That's definitely going to be that might be the most watched game of the day. And yeah, besides that, I mean, some other good matchups. Green Bay going into Cincinnati. We'll see how Cincinnati does playing against a team like Green Bay. But getting into tonight's game, any particular player you're looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, I'm interested to see in how Stafford steps back up playing in Seattle on the road, and they just lost last week. So it'd be interesting to see how that turns out for them. I mean, that was a big loss for them last week, so they got to rebound now, especially to lose at home like they did. So to see how they rebound and knowing Matt Stafford and how he played in Detroit, it's his rebound games always didn't end either really well or he played good, but the team played bad. So it'd be interesting to see how that turns out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Stafford, I have him ranked ninth this week. He is seventh on this, or actually, it's eighth on the season, going up against the 26th ranked defense, fantasy defense. I have him projected to score 23.7 points, uh, getting 293 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Definitely worth starting if he's your only option. Unless some reason you have one of the other guys as well. But jumping over to the running backs, what do you think of Henderson?
I think he's worthy of starting. Last I saw, he was starting and he's healthy, so he's good to go. Last week, last week he was questionable up until the start of the game, and once the game started, I mean, he erupted. I think he had a pretty good game. Um, I wouldn't consider starting Sony Michelle or Funk or Hal. They're not even gonna probably see the ball very much unless Henderson goes down. And playing against a Seattle defense that hasn't stopped the run so far this year, Henderson, I think, is poised to have a really big game.
Yeah, Henderson is on the season is the 12th ranked. No, man, I got to pay attention more to my stats here. He's a ninth ranked running back on the season. He would be a little bit higher, but he missed the week 3 game against the Bucks. He this so far this year he's averaging 14 carries per game and averaging 3 receptions per game, with a total of 95, averaging 95 total yards per game as well. So definitely worth a running back 2 or a flex spot depending on if your league uses 2 running backs or not.
Yeah, he's definitely either a start. He's RB. I would consider an RB2 or a flex option as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have him projected this week to get 13.8 points, about 15 carries, 64 yards, adding a couple catches for about 20 yards or so, with a 60% chance at a touchdown. I'm actually looking forward to this game tonight. I like division. I like when it's the night games or division matchups, because you never know what's going to happen in a division game.
Yeah, it's a meaningful game as well for the fact that both teams need to get rolling in the division to keep up with Arizona, especially if Arizona wins. For a team like Seattle if the Seattle were to lose or to win, I mean, and Arizona wins on Sunday, they have a 2-game lead in the division, so that's pretty big this early in the year. I mean, it's a lot of weeks left in the year, but you don't want to lose too much ground too early, and then you have to try to come from behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping over to wide receivers here, Cooper Kupp, fifth ranked one wide receiver on the season. I have him actually ranked as the second wide receiver this week. He's been Stafford's favorite target this year. Leads the team in targets, receptions, yards, and touchdowns. And the Seahawks are 23rd ranked fantasy defense against wide receivers. So definitely a fit. And they average. Seattle gives up almost 41 points a game to wide receivers. So definitely worth a matchup this week, as we have him projected at 20 points, 7 catches, 87 plus yards, and a 70% chance at a touchdown.
Yeah. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are both definite starters. If you have deep leagues and you're considering you need a flex option, I would consider Van Jefferson just for the fact that he's been putting up numbers when Kupp and Woods have been getting covered a lot. So, and he's scored, I think, 2 or 3 touchdowns on the year so far. So, I would consider him in a deep league for a flex option. I think he's becoming a solid number 3 behind those two if they both stay healthy this year. And for Matt Stafford likes to throw the ball around a lot. He's going to be able to get the ball to a lot of different people's hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Woods, I have him ranked 29th this week. He's 37th on the season, but definitely worth the wide receiver 3 spot. I have him projected at 13.3 points, 5 catches, 57 yards, and 47% chance at 40% chance at a touchdown. Jumping over to tight ends, I really Van Jefferson. I have him at 54, staying with the wide receivers there. So he's right on the edge of getting into a wide receiver or a wide receiver 3 or a flex spot. But Tyler Higbee, I have him ranked as 11th this week in tight ends, but he's 7th on the season, so he's actually having a good season. Seattle's 19th against tight ends, but still, I mean, besides the top couple tight ends in the league, there's really not too many guys. Like this week, I only have him getting about 4 catches, 42 yards, and a 30% chance at a touchdown. What do you think of Higbee?
Yeah, I like Higbee. He's decent to put in as a starter. I wouldn't leave him on your bench, especially with tight ends being so hard to come by and having good ones each week. Um, the chances of him getting a touchdown are probably higher than 0.3 just when he gets inside the red zone. He's a big target that they could throw to. Problem is that so far this year, there are a lot of deep touchdowns with Kupp and Woods and Jackson that they haven't really had chances to get inside the red zone. So I think you're gonna get good stats out of him in PPR leagues. I think with the yardage and his yards after catch, how he gets the yards after catch, I think that he'll be a top 10 tight end by the end of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping over to the kicker, Matt Gay. I have him projected 9th this week in our kickers, but he's also ranked 9th on the season. What do you think about tonight's game? Do you think it'll be high scoring?
I don't think you'll need much kicking. But then again, we've said that a lot. Thursday night footballs, and they've all turned into kicking affairs. So
Yeah.
I would, if you have Matt Gay, I would start him just because kicking spots are hard to come by. and have good kickers that are going to be consistent and getting you points, I would go with Matt Gay if you do have him and put him in your lineup. If you don't have him, I wouldn't go out of your way to try to get him for the night.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about the Rams defense? They worth a start this week. They are ranked 7th on the season.
Yeah, they got
but 19th this week.
Yeah, the Rams defense, I don't know. They haven't really gotten the turnovers like they normally would or the sacks per game. So they got a rebound. I wouldn't against Seattle. I probably, if you have another defense, I wouldn't start them. If you only have the Rams defense as your only solo defense, obviously it's a must start for you then. But if you have two defenses and Rams are one of them, I would definitely not start the Rams this week just because Seattle can put up 35 on you in 3 quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else on the Rams before we jump over to Seattle?
No. I'm good with the Rams.
What jumping before we get into Russell Wilson? Have you heard anything on Chris Carson?
I have not. I haven't seen if he's. I believe last I saw he was going to be active. Yeah, I didn't really see what his injury was. I can tell you right now. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, let me look that up. And while you're looking that up, we had a question in the chat. Need some help. PPR pick 2. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Alex Collins, Zach Moss, or Damian Harris. Without looking it up real quick, I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Harris in that group. Sean, did you find anything on Carson yet? If not, I will. Oh, go ahead.
He is inactive for tonight.
He is inactive. Okay, so Alex Collins, let's take a look over here. I didn't update my projections, so he's going to go up. I did have him ranked projected to get a little bit more. I had him at 10 carries, 44 yards. Do you think that? How much do you think that jumps up?
I don't know if it jumps up too much. It might jump up a few, just because now with Chris Carson out, Alex Collins in, I wouldn't. It's hard to say how much Russell is going to hand the ball off to him.
Yeah. Lark also comments, Alex Collins is projected over 14 points. It changed from 4 points to 14 about 10 minutes ago. So let me do something real quick here. I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'm gonna see if my updated. Because we had him at just about 9 points. Let's see if it changed. And then MPX 1606. We'll get to your question next. It didn't change yet, so I don't know. But let me go over and look. I want to compare a couple of these players that he asked about. Oh, it's at the beginning. I forgot I put it at the beginning. Okay, let's go down the list here. Sean, anything else on the Seahawks tonight? I do have Russell Wilson ranked 11th this week. He's 6th on the season. He's actually not having that good of a season. He's ranked 23rd in completions, 16th in passing yards, 9th in touchdowns, and he has been sacked 11 times already this season.
Yeah, he if you have a league where it hurts you with sacks, then Russell Wilson's going to lose you a lot of points. For some reason, the offensive line issue hasn't gotten any better this year for them. Continuing, if you jump over to the wide receivers, since we know Carson's is out, wide receiver wise, Lockett and Metcalf are both a lock. You're not really starting. I wouldn't start anyone else on their wide receivers just because I wouldn't trust Freddie Swain yet. I mean, he's been scoring, but it's hard to say how he's playing into their offense. He's done a few jet sweeps. He's done a few deep balls and getting touchdowns like that. Other than that, I wouldn't trust any of the other players on their receiving core, just Metcalf and Lockett. Both are going to be top 15, top 20 at the end of a week in projections. So I wouldn't go against them.
All right. To jump back over to Lark's question here, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I have him at 11.9 this week, about 60 yards rushing, a couple catches out of the backfield for about 15 to 20 yards, 40% chance at a touchdown. Buffalo is a really tough defense. Collins, it hasn't updated. Moss, I have at 8.8, so I would have him fourth. I do like Harris. I think Harris is going to have a big week against Houston this week. Take a little pressure off of Mac Jones up there after. I mean, he had a good game Sunday night, but I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think they'll get a big lead too and be able to run the ball. Sean, out of these four guys, who are you starting in a PPR?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is definitely a number one. It's hard not to start him, even with his fumble issues up playing against Buffalo, because he's going to get you the run attempts and he's going to get you the rushing and passing. So I would definitely start him, and then I would do Damian Harris. They're playing against a really bad Houston defense that's giving up a lot of points. I think they gave up 44 on Sunday to Buffalo. So they're turning the ball over a lot. So I would say if they turn the ball over once or twice and range for New England to just rush it in, I would say that's going to be helpful. I would say go with both Damian Harris and Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Zach Moss and Alex Collins, just because both those players with their teams, their backups, and you can't really say how they're going to do against, especially Collins against a good Rams defense.
Yeah, like I've said, unfortunately, my projections have not updated since the news broke. But the next question is from MPX. He asks, who should I start, Alex Collins or Amari Cooper? MPX, if you're still here, let me know what your other options might be at the running back and wide receiver position. I personally would start Amari Cooper going against the Giants. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I wouldn't sit Amari Cooper, even with he left the game, I think, on Sunday for about a quarter with a hamstring injury, and he still came back and he scored a touchdown and put up points. So, and I would say that Amari Cooper is a must start just because he does have that connection with Dak. And when him and Clyde Edwards, and when him and CeeDee Lamb, when Dak and CeeDee Lamb aren't fully connected, then he's going to go back to Amari Cooper. So you have a good chance of getting touchdowns with Amari.
Yeah, I just wanted to update my projections again here. See if the thing I put in the question or the Carson being out segment. So I want to see if the running back projections. We have another question. MPX also says he's got Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the bench. Oh man, it's such a tough matchup this week going against Buffalo.
I would still say Amari Cooper. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a close second, just in case if Cooper ends up being ruled out or anything involved with an injury or something. Say he gets injured tomorrow in practice. I would say keep it between Cooper and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, with Helaire being on the bench until that game starts at 4:00 on Sunday. So with Cooper, at least then you could see if you're trailing. If you're trailing by a lot, I would keep Cooper in. If you're winning and you're just trying to make sure you do win, I would definitely probably then say Cooper or Clyde Edwards-Helaire are going to get you the points you need to solidify a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see a bunch of messages coming in. Guys, thank you. I see Anthony waiting. We'll get to your questions, Anthony. Nick, thanks for the question. We'll get to that here in a second. Let's see here. We were looking at Collins, right? We wanted to know what his updated projections were. Let's see if it updated here. Collins. Alex Collins. No, it did not. Unfortunately, it did not update. So, I mean, between the two, I had them projected at almost 17 points. So you have to think Collins is going to get most of that now. Sean, before we move on to the next question, anything else there?
No, I'm ready for the next question. Let's see what we got.
Anthony, hi. I'm in win now mode, 1-3. Who should I try and trade Ridley for? AJ Brown. Is it just a season league or is it a dynasty league?
Yeah, I mean,
how about a little bit? Ridley for. I don't know why you would trade Ridley for AJ Brown. Honestly, what do you think, Sean?
I wouldn't trade Calvin Ridley.
No, me neither.
Especially for AJ Brown, he's been second tier to Julio in Tennessee, and he's been injured already. Hamstring injury last week kept him out. He got injured, I think, quarter one the week prior, and I think he's active for this week. But Calvin Ridley's not going up against anyone down there in Atlanta. He's the number one. He's for sure the number one. So I would say keep him.
Yeah, I agree. I personally would not trade Ridley.
I would say, who do you have at running back that you might be able to move? I wouldn't move Ridley, though. It's definitely keep him for the time being, just because him and Matt Ryan have always had a connection since he's becoming in the league as a rookie, and he's going to get you points.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why this isn't updating. Isaiah, I see your question. We'll get to that here in a second. Anthony asks, thoughts on another wide receiver for Ridley I should trade for? I'm not sure. Yep. I don't know. I like. Is there something wrong with Ridley that I don't know?
He just hasn't scored, I don't think, any touchdowns yet this year, but his time will come. I mean, I think 2 years ago he led the league in touchdowns. I would keep him for sure. I mean, he's going to put up the points. He's just off to a rough start this year.
Let me go back. He doesn't seem to be coming up in my wide receiver list. That's why I wasn't sure if there was something wrong with it. Some other quick. Let's see here. Start Latavius Murray. He's in. Oh, I'm sorry. Anthony says he's in a season league, so it's not. I would honestly keep Ridley. I'm not sure what's up with AJ Brown, and Tennessee is more of a running team, and they do have Julio Jones. I know they're both injured right now, but yeah, I don't. That trade doesn't work for me. So hopefully we were able to give you some guidance there on that. Nick says start one: Latavius Murray, Javonte Williams, Alex Collins, or Elijah Mitchell, full PPR. Sean, any thoughts on this? Why I bring these players up?
I would just start Alex Collins. I wouldn't even compare any of the others. Latavius Murray isn't a guaranteed starter yet in Baltimore. Javonte Williams isn't a starter in Denver, and they're playing a Steelers defense this week. And Elijah Mitchell hasn't put up enough points yet to want to start him yet. So I would go with Alex Collins if you have to start one of those this week.
Let's see here. Let me get all these guys on the list here. Alex Collins, Williams.
And to go on top of Anthony, I saw in his chat, he did say he's out this week. He's out because of personal matters. He's not injury related.
So I mean, I still wouldn't make that trade. I like Ridley. AJ Brown's one of my favorite players in football, but fantasy wise, Ridley is the better wide receiver.
Yeah, I would say it would have to depend on what the rest of your team looks like, Anthony, just to say that you have to. I would move this player or this player possibly for someone else, but depending on who else you have on your bench, I would for sure keep Ridley if you're trying to be in win mode. Just you're obviously gonna have to wait it out this week, and then go back with more next week.
Yeah, let me take Nick's thing off the screen here for a second so we can see the list. I put all 4 in, and it's saying Javonte Williams. I actually don't like that. I agree with you. I would actually start Collins because my projections aren't updated for tonight's game. I would definitely start Collins this week out of those four options.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because Murray in Baltimore. What's up with Williams?
I don't know what's going on with the Baltimore running back core issue. I would stay probably far away from that. They have Lamar Jackson. He's going to run the ball 90% of the time anyways. I would probably, if you have any Baltimore running backs, I would probably just drop them right now and stay away from them until you get a clear cut. This is our number one. We're going with them the rest of the year. Because truthfully, I could see them trading for Marlon Mack as well from Indianapolis. I know he wants out, and he said he wants to go to a playoff contending team. So I could see Marlon Mack getting traded to a team like maybe Baltimore and being their number one running back for the rest of the year until they get everyone else back.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony, Isaiah, actually, before I go back to Anthony, Isaiah asked Alex Collins or Zach Moss. I mean, he was in one of the ones we compared before between the 4 running backs. I don't know.
I would stick with Alex Collins on that just because Zach Moss isn't a big name guy in Buffalo yet. He's a backup to Devin Singletary, so his touches are always going to be down, and he's going to get only touches more when it comes to a blowout. I know when it became like a 25, 30-point lead on Sunday, that's when he got a touchdown and he started getting the carries because they took Singletary out for the fact of not getting him injured. So yeah. I would go with Alex Collins.
I agree with you, especially with let me go back over here. Anthony came back and he said he tried trading Ridley for Diggs. First off, that would never happen. And then Ridley for Terry McLaurin. I know Ridley. You said Ridley's out this week, but I honestly don't see another team trading either one of those 2 guys for Ridley at this point. What do you think, Sean?
Truthfully, if you're trying to go for a guy that's going to get you points, touchdowns, and all that, the people I would consider for names purposes are people like Adam Thielen. He's going to get you the touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, if possible, if you can get him maybe, or if you don't already have CeeDee Lamb. Mike Williams in LA on the Chargers, or maybe a guy like Henry Ruggs who can get you the yardage, fewer receptions, more yardage, and a chance of a big touchdown. Those would be my 4 guys I would probably consider. Other than that, I would probably just ride it out with Ridley for the time being. Maybe pick up someone on your waivers and see how he does for the week, and then see how Ridley bounces back next week. He'll have the extra rest to be able to bounce back and possibly have a bigger game.
Yeah. Let's see. Before I jump over to Mr. Grapefruit's chat, Anthony chimes in, said he has CD. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would ride with CD for the week. Another person that I would also maybe you could try to trading for would be Sterling Shepard.
Mm.
He's coming back from injury, but him and Daniel Jones have been having good connections this year. He's already had, I think, a 125-yard game. So I would say those would be my consideration, my 5 players I would consider to possibly trade Ridley for and going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, before I jump over to the next question, thank you all for joining tonight. My name's John. He's Sean. We live stream every Thursday night at 7 and then Sunday mornings at 11:30 before the pre-games come on television. So while you're here, please hit that like and subscribe button. We're also on Twitter at PA Fantasy Sports. So if you're there, give us a follow there. We're on Facebook. Pure Gentleman Fantasy Sports there. So give a like there if you're there. And once again, thanks for all the questions. Sean, Mr. Grapefruit says, trade Mahomes, Patterson, Damian Williams for Tannehill and Barkley. He has Mahomes and Hurts, and Darnold is available on the wire. I think you are giving up way too much, personally.
Yeah.
Sean,
I see his
go ahead.
remaining of his questions is they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Barkley, Singletary, and Mike Davis, hence Patterson. I would keep Patterson. He's scoring touchdowns on an average of 1.5 a week right now. He's not only getting you the rushing yards, he's getting you receptions too, and his nose yards. And Mahomes, he's gonna get you your points. You're gonna get 30 plus almost from him every week. He's Patrick Mahomes. He's an MVP. And Damian Williams, he's only gonna be a temporary starter while David Montgomery is either out with injury or coming back. So I wouldn't make that trade. I would try to see maybe about riding that out. I mean, that's a pretty good team that you already have right there. I just wouldn't give up that much for Tannehill, who's struggling, and Barkley, who just had one great week so far in 4 weeks. Until Barkley's back 100% improving himself, I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's fine. Mr. Grapefruit, I'd also like to know if it is a dynasty league, because that changes some things. I would always go if I could get a stud running back. And if you have Mahomes, and is it a 1 quarterback league? Isaiah's back. It says Goddard, Cook, or Dawson Knox.
I would go with either Knox or Goddard. Goddard, he's playing against a Dallas defense that's been giving up points to tight end. Dawson Knox, though, he also could get you a lot of points just for the fact that he is playing against a bad Chiefs defense. He could get you a lot of points, and he's getting a lot of touchdowns. So I would probably say between Goddard and Knox.
Yeah, I want to jump over. Is ranked 28th in fantasy points allowed to tight ends. But let me just jump over to the tight ends here and see where we have all these guys ranked. Guys, thanks for the questions. Keep them coming. We'll get to all your questions here. Let's see here. Goddard. Where's Goddard? Oh, right there for Philadelphia. Playing the number 16 defense. Cook, who is below him, playing the number 10 defense, so I don't like that matchup against Cleveland. And Knox. Knox should be a little bit higher on this list just because they are getting them more involved in the offense. And Kansas City is, like I said, 28th against fantasy tight ends. And this is going to be a high-scoring game, and Kansas City can't stop anybody. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I would go with Dawson Knox. I mean, Goddard's going to get you points, but they haven't gone to him in the end zone really as much. Where Dawson Knox is definitely the go-to for Josh Allen up there in Buffalo, and playing against a really bad KC defense, he's destined to have a really good game again.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Once again, thanks for all the questions. We'll get to them. Mr. Grapefruit is back. He said he trusts Barkley. I on Sunday I told you this, that he is getting each week he is getting more touches. So definitely. So, but it is a redraft standard. So if it's a redraft league, I don't know if I'd make that trade at all.
I mean, I see that he says he'd be starting Hurts, CMC when healthy, Zeke, Barkley, Lockett, Deontay Johnson, Michael Thomas when he's back, Fant, the Broncos defense, and Carlson. I mean, that team is already stacked. Yeah. I mean, if you can make the trade and he's willing to accept it, then I would do it if he's going to take it. I mean, if that person's taking that trade to make you even a bigger stack team, then that would even be big, because I mean, he also says he has David Montgomery that's also hurt. So, I mean, Mr. Grapefruit, you drafted a great team. Huh, I want that team on my team.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. And he said he still have David Montgomery.
Yeah, I would. If you can make the trade with Mahomes, and I would try Mahomes and Damian Williams, I would probably see about maybe doing those, just them, and keeping Patterson and trying to swing for just Barkley, just because I would want to keep Patterson on my team, because I just don't think giving up Patterson just because of injuries right now, he could be a good flex option for you to swing him in with Barkley or CMC getting injured, or even David Montgomery.
So we'll see. I believe CMC was back at practice today. Did you hear that?
Yeah, he is willing to play on Sunday. I think it comes down to how he feels when he goes out for practice. He said he just says he offered Mahomes and Patterson for Barkley. He'd keep Damian Williams and Montgomery. I mean, yeah, if he takes that offer, you're winning that trade any day of the week.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to get Barkley and you're giving up probably equal points, maybe you're giving up a little more just because of Mahomes, him having the options to give you 30 plus each week. If he ends up countering it back, I would say maybe try to see about Damian Williams in there, like you were willing to do before. And then you have the option to go pick somebody up from free agency as well.
Yeah, he says it's an auction league, so.
Yeah, I thrive on those. But
yes, you do.
I played a lot of standard auctions this year.
He says, "I appreciate this insight, guys." Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Thanks. You said you're going to subscribe. Thank you very much. Like I said, every Thursday night at 7. So far this year, we've gone live. Sunday mornings at 11:30. We'll be going live this Sunday as well. My Jets will be on, but that's all right. We'll be here. We'll be here talking fantasy. So if there's still people watching and in the chat, throw some more questions in there. We're gonna look back at tonight's game. Let's get back. So Sean, you looked it up. Carson's out this week. So what do you think about the game now?
I still think it's going to be a high throwing game. I don't think you're going to see much running, just because the Seattle is not going to be able to run the ball or be willing to run the ball as much with Carson's out, with Collins going against Aaron Donald and the defense that they have. Like I said, I would start Metcalf and Lockett, guarantee they're going to get you your points. They're going to always hit their points. I mean, Lockett this year already has, I think, a 2 or 3 touchdown game. So the chances of him having a breakout game, and DK Metcalf is due for a breakout game and having his monster games as as we should call him, because when he has a big game, they're usually monstrous. Looking at Seattle's tight end position, I wouldn't consider Gerald Everett or Will Disley, just because they don't really play too much and they don't really thrive that much with their offense. Their offense is more built on the speed and the strength that they have with Lockett and Metcalf, and running the ball downhill with Carson and Collins. So I would say stay away from the tight end position in Seattle. I wouldn't start their kicker just because it's Seattle. They're not going to kick it too much. And I wouldn't start their defense. I wouldn't start either defense, like I said before tonight. Either defense I wouldn't start, just for the fact of the possibility of a lot of points being scored.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I chime in here, Amar chimes in, asks Collins or Fournette. Sean, why I compare these two guys? What do you think of this? These two guys. Now I know Collins is now the starter tonight, but
I would start Alex Collins. That means I could see that he's a lot of people either picked him up this week on the waivers already this week, just because of the injury coming up to Carson. I would start Collins just for the fact Fournette still swapping the backfield with Ronald. I don't know if Ronald Jones is back, but I know Bernard is playing still, and Tom Brady is still a thrower, so he's going to throw the ball a lot. And I know on Sunday Fournette had a decent game, but a lot of that came late in the second half. In the second half, with the third and fourth quarter, they were just running the ball. The rain, when it's dry weather, Tom Brady's going to throw the ball 9 out of 10 times and not want to hand it off. So I would go with Alex Collins for the week, just because.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Like I said, the numbers here don't show the Chris Carson news, but Carson is out tonight. So actually, I had Carson before the injury. I had Carson about 9 points, and Collins at the 8 points. So I mean, he's going to get some of that now. So look for Collins to probably put up, I don't know, what do you think, Sean? Maybe 15 to 20 carries, 75 yards, maybe.
Yeah, I would consider Alex Collins to have decent numbers. He's probably, I mean, he's not going to go out and he's not going to have Derrick Henry stats or anything, but I would consider him to have roughly between 12 to 17 carries. I would say 3 to 5 catches, probably like a 50% chance of a touchdown, and probably total overall yards, you're probably looking at around 100.
Yeah, absolutely. Amar, thanks for the question. Hopefully we were able to help you out there. Justin chimes in with a question here. He's got James Conner or Alex Collins, PPR. Sean, you want to give your take while I put the matchup in there?
Again, I'm gonna stick with the road that I've been on. Go with Alex Collins. James Conner, he's the backup to Chase Edmonds. Yeah, he's getting the touchdowns because Edmonds hasn't been getting them in the red zone. But I would say go with Alex Collins, just for the fact that you're gonna have a better chance of getting points over James Conner. When Conner, it could come any one week he could have a breakout game. The next week they might not hand the ball off to him, and he might not get as many touches.
Yeah, no, I just looked it up. I can compare a couple players here, and Connor he was ahead of Collins, but with Carson being out, definitely, like you're saying, stick with Collins. He's going to put up some decent numbers tonight in a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I would say Collins is the better off person to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you're still watching, leave some more comments or questions in the chat there, and let's get back to tonight's game here. Metcalf, we were up to the wide receivers. Metcalf is the eighth ranked wide receiver on the season. I have him 12th. Definitely getting 5 to 6 catches, 80 yards. He does lead the Seahawks with 33 targets, tied with the team lead for receptions and touchdowns. And the Rams are 19th against fantasy wide receivers. So, like Sean said, definitely get him in your lineup. What was your take on Lockett?
He's gonna have a decent game. He against the LA. Metcalf is gonna have Jalen Ramsey on him all night. Those two are gonna be attached to the hip. So Lockett's gonna see the more catches tonight. When Ramsey plays against big guys, he's gonna always go for their number one, and I would consider Metcalf being their number one. So I would go regardless, both are starting, but for fantasy purposes, I think Lockett will have a better game.
Yeah, I have Lockett. I have them close. I do have Lockett at 6 catches, also about 70 yards, with a 50% chance at a touchdown. He also he's tied for the team lead in receptions and touchdowns, and he actually has the team lead in receiving yards. So definitely. How about the tight end position? Would you use Everett?
I'd stay away from them.
Yeah, guys, I see some more chats, messages coming in. Keep them coming. We'll get to them here in a second. Myers, I'm sorry, Sean. What were you saying?
I would stay away from the tight end. I would stay away from the kicker, and I would stay away from the defense from Seattle. I wouldn't even consider any of those three positions for Seattle, just for the fact that their defense isn't great, their kicker is inconsistent, and they'd rather go for it most of the time. And their tight ends, they haven't proven themselves yet.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple more questions coming in here. Looks like DJ, would you do Mike Williams and Swift for Godwin and Edmonds? I'm the first team. To me, Sean, before you chime in, I would not trade Mike Williams at all. Now, unless it was something crazy and you're getting one of the top tier guys back, like a Mahomes or running back Henry, somebody like that. I know Mike Williams isn't on that level, but right now, what do you think? I don't know.
I kind of, it depends. Is it a PPR league? Is it a dynasty league? Or is it an every year we redraft league? If it's a PPR league, I actually like that trade offer, just for the fact that Godwin and Edmonds are going to get you the catches and the touchdowns, where Swift isn't going to get a catch as much as Edmonds will, and Williams. I mean, you are going to lose a little bit with the size, and with his catches and his size, getting him the catches and the touchdowns. So I actually like that trade. If he's willing to do it, I would say go with it, just for the fact that Godwin is on the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's going to get you a lot of yards. I think this year he's averaging, in most leagues, I think he's averaging like 14 or 15 points a week. And that's with Evans, Gronkowski, all three running backs, and Antonio Brown down there. So I actually like that trade. If it was me, I would probably even offer that trade as well. So I would say it's a good one to do. And being that it's a 12-man PPR league and you're in first place, I wouldn't say that it's a bad option to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to look these guys up. We have another question here from Eli. Damian Harris or Alex Collins, full PPR. Sean, what do you think?
With this one, I'd probably say Damian Harris, just because he's playing against a bad Houston Texans that just got lit up last week. I think you're better off. You're going to get better points out of him, just for the fact that you could see a lot of rushing when it comes late in the game. I think this is where Mac Jones gets his first quality win, and a big win as well, rebounding from a 1-point loss or a 2-point loss, whatever it was, on Sunday night with Tampa being in town. I would say Damian Harris is gonna probably overdo himself, and he's gonna. I mean, Belichick hasn't trusted many running backs there this year. They've fumbled a lot. Where I know Damian Harris has hung on to the ball. They've even traded Sony Michel to keep Damian Harris as a starter there. So I would go Damian Harris this week.
Yeah, I would stick with Harris as well. I believe they will jump out to a lead against Houston. I don't think now, I personally don't think Belichick will run the score up, but I do believe they'll start running the ball more once they do get a bigger lead, and Harris will definitely benefit from that. Guys, if you're still here, leave a like, subscribe. Like I said, Thursday nights, Sean and I are live at 7. We'll keep going until as long as your questions are still coming in. Sundays at 11:30. Sean, anything to add?
No. The only thing I would really add is if for everyone, keep an eye on your Sunday fantasies. I know a lot of people don't check them till 11:30. There is a 9:30 game this week with London being the Jets at Atlanta. Make sure to keep that up and up to date. Make sure your lineups for that are set, just because I know I've done it a few times when I forgot that there was a London game and I forgot to change my lineup, and there I am putting a guy in that's getting me 1 point because I forgot that I had him in. So I would keep an eye on your lineups on Saturday night, see how, even if you wake up early Sunday mornings before the game starts at 9:30, to see how your lineup could look, and to make sure you have, if you need anyone in there for that game, put them in, or if you have to take them out, obviously take them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, any stat projections for this evening?
I don't think. I think Russell Wilson passes. I saw he hasn't passed over 24 times in 9 straight games, dating back to last year. So I don't think you'll see him have many pass attempts, completions. I don't think you'll see that many. Stat prediction wise, I just think you're going to see a high yardage game. I think you'll be seeing, I think probably the end of the game, you'll probably see over 800 yards combined for both teams, which I would say almost 400 each side. I just think that you're going to see a big scoring game, and it's a division game. Thursday night football, Seattle's crowd's going to be going off, so it's going to be big week, big game for both teams to rebound and get a win.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another question here from Greg. Schultz or Higbee in a PPR league? Sean, why I bring the comparison up? What do you think? I personally like Higbee. He's my fantasy tight end this season. But what do you think?
I don't know. I like Schultz. He's having a good year. Him and Dak have that tight end and quarterback connection like Tony Romo did with Jason Witten in Dallas. So I would probably go with Dalton Schultz over Higbee, just because Schultz, since minus week 1, I think week 2, 3, 4, has put up a touchdown each week and over 60 yards each week with like 6 or 7 catches. And I know last week he had 2 touchdown catches. So I would probably go with Dalton Schultz, just for the fact that his touchdown ratio and him and Dak catching, going to each other a lot. I feel like you're going to get a lot of points with receptions as well as the yards and a possible touchdown or 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And I put in the side-by-side comparison, and Schultz also comes up as the better option this week. So I actually have them both as my fantasy tight ends in our dynasty league. So I'll be making that. I'll be switching that out before tonight's game here starts. Greg also chimes in, says also start one PPR. Pittman, Waddle, and Devonta Smith. Let's see here. Pittman's going up against Baltimore, right?
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I would probably go with Pittman for guaranteed you're going to get points. Him and Carson Wentz have that connection. He's 3 straight weeks of having double-digit targets. So, I mean, if he catches every single ball, you're automatically guaranteed double-digit points. Waddle, I know they're playing against Tampa's defense, so the chances of him getting a big game are slimmer. I know Will Fuller is out for a little while, so Waddle's rolling into the wide receiver 2 role down there, but Devontae Parker still is the number 1, and Gesicki is destined to have a bigger game. He's starting to pick up, but I would say he's not destined yet with Waddle yet to be a big name. Devontae Smith, it's hard to say. Him and Hurts have been getting better with connection, and he's getting better with route running in the NFL. But I don't see him being a starter. I have him in my one league, and I only started him week 1, and he didn't do bad. But unless someone gets injured in your lineup, I wouldn't start Smith yet. I would wait it out just because Philly's offense has so many weapons. They have 2 good running backs. They have 3 good wide receivers, including Smith, and they have 2 tight ends that can get it with Goddard and Ertz. So, and Hurts also can run the ball in a lot and get rushing touchdowns when it gets close. So, my opinion, go with Pittman. Sunday night or Monday night.
Yeah, and I brought up the projections here. I do have him and Smith at the same 12.7 points, but I do have Pittman getting a little bit more. Another reception. I don't know. We have him at a rushing yard, but like you said, he is becoming the favorite target there for Wentz. So yeah, I would definitely and Smith in Philadelphia. I don't know. Carolina's a tough defense. Waddle, I don't. Miami's a mess right now. I actually thought Miami would be a better team, but even with Tua when he was there, I don't know what's wrong with the Dolphins. So definitely, like Sean said, definitely keep Pittman there, especially with the connection he's got with Wentz going on. That should be a fun Monday night game.
Yeah. I think Monday night's game it'll be a pretty good game. I think Carson Wentz prime time. He has a lot to prove yet. I mean, they're 1-3. He's got a lot to prove for the fact that he got traded there. Well, I wouldn't say traded. He won it out in Philly and got put in Indy and then got injured. And then week 2 got re-injured. So I think if he can prove himself and keep the ball rolling for himself and stay healthy, I think Carson Wentz is destined to have a good year in Indy. And I just think that he'll probably, that division, they could very much wouldn't even win a division with Indy because they're only a game out with Tennessee being 2-2 and they're 1-3.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, I don't know. Did you give your projected winners for tonight? Who you thought was going to win the game?
I think LA Rams win. Yeah, I think the LA
I
Rams
think the
win.
Rams
I
win as
think
well.
it's a high-scoring game. I think the game ends 35-31.
Wow, real high scoring.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see much defense tonight. I just think that both offenses can put up a lot of points, and I just think that you're going to see a lot of points being put up.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, once again, we've been going for an hour here. Thank you all for all the questions. If anybody's still here, throw a question in. This has been our longest stream so far. We started week 1. This is what we've been waiting for. we start out, we look at the Thursday night matchups, and usually the Monday night matchup. But if you guys are going to be here to ask questions, we would much rather do that. Help you with your lineups, keep you up to date on any injury news. So with it being an hour, I think we're going to log off here and get ready for tonight's game. We'll be back Sunday. Sean, will you be joining me Sunday morning?
Yep, I'll be there Sunday. And then if anyone has any questions, if you go to the Twitter page, we'll both be there to answer questions. You can even ask them throughout the game. You can ask them tomorrow. You can ask them Saturday. We'll be willing to answer them. And up until Sunday morning, we'll even answer them during the stream Sunday if you ask them even, and during the game Sunday. So I mean, just ask away on the Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports Twitter page, even the Facebook page, and we're always willing to help. I mean, that's why we're here. We love football as much as you guys do, and we want to help you guys be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, thanks again for joining me. Good luck this week in fantasy. Guys, make sure you get your lineups in, and we'll see you Sunday morning.
All right, see you guys Sunday.